Hello, YouTube divers. This is Water Dive 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Magic Metal Mondays. So, today we are going to be doing another album ranking for you guys here today. I know, hard to believe. We've done 3 album rankings in pretty much the last year: Egg Guy, Cannibal Corpse, and now we are talking about one of the most influential bands of all time, one of the most influential bands in the 1980s glam metal scene. You know what I'm talking about. We're going to be talking about Los Angeles' very own Motley Crue. High time that I finally talk about this band in full and see what I think about their discography. I won't lie. A little bit of a backstory for about Motley Crue for me. Before the summer of last year, um, I was not very, I was not a big fan of Motley Crue. There were a few of their hits that I thought were good, but never really was big into them. But that changed when I saw Motley Crue in Atlanta, Georgia, when they were touring with Joan Jett, Poison, and Def Leppard. Um, saw them opening night. They were the third band of those 4 to play that night. They were altering the closing nights with Def Leppard. Def Leppard closed that night, so Motley Crue played before them. Motley Crue put on a spectacular show. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what arguments you have. That concert was very special to me. And and let's be real here. If I didn't go to that concert, I would not be a Motley Crue fan. This video would not exist. It's just hands down. Um, yeah, Motley Crue impressed me that much. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the rankings here. They have 9 albums. Their most recent was 2008's Saints of Los Angeles. Um, and of course, you know, the whole Dirt soundtrack and everything like that. But that won't be mentioned on here. I might do a separate video on that. Who knows? So let's get into it. So number 9, no surprise here, we have the 1997 album Generation Swine. Okay, what on earth is this record? Like, it is just weird. It's all over the place. It's too long. It drags out. It's what the heck? I will give them credit where credit is due. There are a few songs on this record that I think are worth checking out rather. And those songs are Afraid and Let Us Pray. Let Us Pray technically has, in my opinion, one of their more heavier riffs. And Afraid, while it does drag out a little bit towards the end, um, I still think it's a pretty nice track. But really some of the other songs on here like Glitter and Brandon. No disrespect to Tommy Lee, who I've actually read that he wrote Brandon for his son who passed away shortly before this album came out, as far as I'm concerned. I might be butchering that, but who knows. And Tommy Lee actually does vocals on that track. Um, yeah, it's just not good. I'm sorry, it's just not good. Glitter is just, what the heck? Confessions is a pretty bad track. The title track, Generation Swine, is painfully below decent. Um, yeah, this album is just not good. It's just not good. Really, the only big failure in Motley Crue's discography, which really pains it because Motley Crue was, uh, just really pains it because Motley Crue, in my opinion, while they don't have the most perfect discography in the world, they at least have a near flawless one, and this is probably the biggest flop in their discography. But go listen to Afraid and go listen to Let Us Pray, but literally ignore the rest of this record. I can't. All right, now moving on to number 8, we have the 1994 self-titled album. This is already miles better than Generation Swine. This is a really decent record. I was almost about to say really good, but it's not a good record. It's not a terrible record. It's just right down the middle. Meat and potatoes, vanilla, run of the mill, decent. Um, this is the only album to feature John Corabi on vocals. He replaced Vince Neil for a short time. His voice, he has a good voice. It's just not right for Motley Crue. Um, but still, there are some great songs on here, like "Smoke the Sky," one of Mick Mars's best guitar riffs. "Poison Apples" has a really catchy chorus. "Drift Away" is a beautiful song, and it definitely has Karabi's best vocal performance for Motley Crue. "Till Death Do Us Part" is a nice one. "Misunderstood" is another good song, and "Hooligan's Holiday" is pretty good as well. There are a couple of other tracks on this record, like "Welcome to the Numb," that are pretty decent. But if you look at this record and those six songs that I just mentioned, you will have a pretty good time. This record is an hour long, way too long for a Motley Crue record, and that's the other thing that really bugs me. This album is just way too long. Like, if you can make this record have those six songs and maybe a couple of others from this record, you wouldn't lose anything. So with that said, the Motley Crue self-titled record comes in here at 19. It comes in here at number 8, rather. All right, now moving on, we got number 7, The Saints of Los Angeles from 2008, their most recent record and their final record. Um, so I will just go ahead and preface this. This album I like a little bit more than the self-titled album, simply because it has Vince Neil back on vocals. And no disrespect to Karabi, he's a good singer, but like I said, he doesn't fit Motley Crue's style. But Vince Neil, while he doesn't have his best vocal performance on this record, it is an improvement. The title track, Saints of Los Angeles, is a really good one, and they actually played this song when I saw them in Atlanta. What's It Gonna Take is a fun number. Mother Trucker of the Year is a really good one. Just Another Psycho is one of their darkest songs, and the closing number, Going Out Swinging, is, again, another really good song as well. This album has its moments, but again, like with the self-titled album, it's run-of-the-mill, cookie-cutter, meat and potatoes, vanilla decent. The only reason why it's slightly better than the self-titled record is because Vince Neil is on vocals. Like, I'm not even kidding. All right, so with that said, Saints of Los Angeles comes in here at number 7. Moving on, number 6, the 2000 album, The New Tattoo. Easily Motley Crue's best modern album, in my opinion. This album really makes an effort to bring back their iconic 80s sound, and I'd say they did a pretty darn good job at that. There are some really underrated tracks on this record, most notably the opening track, Hell on High Heels, which is unanimously picked as Motley Crue's most underrated song, and I totally agree with that. I have no issue with that. The title track, New Tattoo, is really good, albeit a little bit cheesy. Punched in the Teeth by Love has a really killer riff from Mick Mars. Drag Strip Superstar is pretty darn good as well. Hollywood Ending is a nice track, and Fake is another really good track as well. This album is great. Like, every pick from here on out is great. So now we're gonna go into the top 5, which is pretty unanimously accepted as Motley Crue's best period, which is their first 5 records. They're all their 80s albums. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go into the top 5. Number 5, Too Fast for Love from 1981, the band's debut album. Okay, so I know I give debut albums a lot of flack on this channel, but I am willing to give Too Fast for Love a pass here. I know this is still a very young Motley Crue. They still haven't figured out who they want to be, like what is their signature sound, but this is a very energetic, rebellious, rambunctious, punky record. There's a lot of great songs on this track. Live Wire, a staple in their discography. Take Me to the Top has arguably one of Vince Neil's best vocal performances, albeit a little bit repetitive. Piece of Your Action's pretty good as well. Public Enemy #1 is pretty darn good as well. But my favorite track on this record has to go to the title track, Too Fast for Love. I don't really see this track being held in such high regards, like Live Wire, Take Me to the Top, and Piece of Your Action. But I'd argue that Too Fast for Love is one of the better tracks from Motley Crue. Like one of their more underrated tracks, kind of like with Hell on High Heels from the new Tattoo record. That opening riff from Mick Mars on the title track is just, oh my god. And the chorus, while it is repetitive, it's still very fun and very headbanging worth of material there. Um, but yeah, Too Fast for Love, great start to a career. Fantastic. Moving on, number 4. We got the Theater of Pain album from 1985, the band's third album. Now, this is one of two albums, the other being Girls, 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 where I see a lot of people say that there's only two great songs on the record. They only go to the hits, which for Theater of Pain are Smoking in the Boys' Room and Home Sweet Home. Both are great songs, but there's a lot of other great tracks on this record as well. City Boy Blues is a fantastic number. Great way to open up the record. Louder Than Hell has to be another one of their more underrated tracks from this era. Um, and Fight for Your Rights. Oh my god, what a fantastic riff from Mick Mars. Just Mick Mars, in my opinion, is one of the greatest guitar players ever. Not just from the 80s glam metal scene, but of all time. Especially considering that he had to deal with a chronic back disease that he has had his entire life. And he is arguably one of the greatest heavy metal or hard rock guitarists ever. One of the more influential ones, anyway. All right, so with that said, Theater of Pain coming in here in 1985. And coming in here at number 4, it's from 1985. I cannot talk right now. I'm so sorry, guys. All right, moving on to number 3. We have Dr. Feelgood from 1989. Arguably the band's biggest, most influential, most successful record, and definitely their most famous record. There are so many hits on this record. The title track, Dr. Feelgood, Kickstart My Heart, which is overplayed at stadiums everywhere. Same Old Situation, and Don't Go Away Mad, which all of those tracks are staples. But then you have Slice of Your Pie, which in my opinion has one of, if not the best, guitar solos from Mick Mars. Holy crap. And then the ballad on this track, Without You. Yeah, it's cheesy. Yeah, it's a little bit boring, but I don't care. I really like that track. Um, it's really nice. Um, yeah, this record is just fantastic from start to finish, and it easily deserves the hype that it gets. All right, now moving on to number 2, we have the 1987 album, Girls, Girls, Girls. This was dangerously close to being number 1. The only reason why it's not number 1 is because of their completely unnecessary live cut of Jailhouse Rock, which it's not a terrible cover, and it's definitely energetic, but was it really that necessary? Was it vital? I don't know. But everything else on this record just slaps. Wild Side and Girls, Girls, Girls. Those are the two tracks on this record that many people feel like are the only two good songs on this record. Kind of a similar scenario with the aforementioned Theater of Pain. But when you look at the rest of this record, it is just, oh my god, jam-packed with fantastic songs. Dancing on Glass has one of Vince Neil's best vocal performances. 5 Years Dead is a really fun number. All in the Name Of is a really rebellious rockin' track. Something for Nothing is just, in my opinion, another one of Motley Crue's most underrated works. Oh my god, it's just fantastic. But then, we haven't even gotten to the best track on the record. That title has to go to the ballad on this track, You're All I Need. Yes, I said it. You're All I Need is easily a top 5 Motley Crue song for me. I can't even with this track. This track is dark. It is horrifying. It is eerie. It is just amazing. And yeah, I will go on record to say that this ballad, You're All I Need, is a better ballad than Home Sweet Home. I know that's going to be controversial to a lot of Motley Crue fans, and I understand. But You're All I Need is just, oh my god, it's just amazing. Um, and this song was based on a true story. It's basically based on domestic violence. And if you've watched the music video for this track, you already did. I mean, it got banned on frickin' MTV because of how controversial it was. Like, oh my god, it's just, oh my word. Um, but yeah, needless to say, Girls, Girls, Girls is just a flawless record. It's flawless. Um, I know I don't really care for the Jailhouse Rock cover, but I don't even care. This record is flawless. And it was dangerously close to being my favorite Motley Crue album. But, alas, my number one favorite Motley Crue record, if you've been playing along at home and you've been doing Process of Elimination, you know what album is left. The 1983 album, Shout at the Devil. This album is freaking amazing. This is arguably the most influential album to the glam metal scene, and honestly, it is not hard to see why. This thing takes everything the band did on Too Fast for Love and does it way freaking better. I cannot emphasize it. I cannot emphasize that enough. Every song on this record just slaps from start to finish. Really, I could just track by track this record and not have a problem with it because it is very difficult to decipher which are my favorites from this record. But I'm gonna, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna go crazy. The title track, "Shout of the Devil," was my favorite Motley Crue number for a very long time, and it still might be. It's between it and "You're All I Need." Looks That Kill, another big hit, fantastic number. Red Hot, oh my god, fantastic. Knock 'em Dead Kid is a really rebellious number. I really like it. Too Young to Fall in Love has one of the best choruses Motley Crue has ever delivered. The instrumental track, God Bless the Children of the Beast, which kind of acts as like an interlude track, kind of like with what Sabotage did on their late '80s records, like on Hall and Mountain King or Gutter Ballet, where they had a lot of guitar interludes. This track really reminds me of that, except Motley Crue style. Their cover of Helter Skelter, while it may have been a little bit unnecessary, it's still a great cover. And then 10 Seconds to Love, just a fantastic, fantastic number as well. I basically mentioned all but two songs on the record. The other two songs I didn't mention are also really good. Really, that just goes to show you how flawless of an album Shout at the Devil is. It's a fantastic record, and if you haven't checked it out yet, go do it right freaking now, man. Even if you're not a Motley Crue fan, check it out. Because there have been people who hate Motley Crue and who hate this genre say that this album is great. They can't fault this album. They can't deny it. It is just that freaking good. And literally, go crazy. Go listen to this record. Go listen to Motley Crue. This band is absolutely fantastic. Please feel free to post your Motley Crue rankings down in the comment section below, and that concludes this video. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is Dive 122 signing out, ready to dive in more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.